welcome to another edition of India Ascends. I'm Gauri Dwivedi. Let's start the show this Friday evening with headlines coming in.
India has always been a first responder, especially in its neighborhood, whenever these kinds of natural disasters have taken place.
Powerful earthquake rattles Myanmar and neighboring Thailand. Bridges collapse and skyscrapers fall like ninepins. Dozens of workers remain trapped in a collapsed Bangkok under construction skyscraper. From sharing classified information to probably questionable leadership, we probe how long can Hegseth's unshaken confidence survive the mounting criticism after the Signal Gate controversy hit Trump 2.0. Bangladesh interim advisor Mohammad Yunus makes first state visit to China, underlining growing closeness with Beijing aimed at complicating India's strategic calculus. Top voice on India Ascends, Bhutanese Prime Minister, who shares the roadmap for the India-Bhutan relationship and the role New Delhi will play in Bhutan's economic growth. And across the UK, whispers of an exodus grow louder. The wealthiest, including billionaires like Lakshmi Mittal, are considering leaving, all because of a new tax reform targeting the non-dom status. India Ascends decodes. Our big story this week on India Ascends. By now, all of you would know about Signal Gate, the fact that operational details were discussed on open platforms, and what was probably clearly classified information shared to a journalist as well. But the aftermath of this saga is that President Trump has acknowledged the first slip-up of his 2-month-old administration. And his Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, is again in hot water. And this time, it's not for his political views or his ability to play the tough guy, but this time it's about his judgment, something that many have been questioning or have been concerned about for some time. Hegseth's casual attitude towards sensitive operational details has added to the growing chorus of criticism about his leadership. The old adage that loose lips, well, they sink ships, has never been more relevant than now. Hegseth's reckless disregard for security protocols is another reminder of the rookie mistake that has followed him throughout his career. While others in the Trump administration, like National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, may have made their own missteps, it's Hegseth who's been pegged as the villain in this big Signal Gate saga. But for the world, there's reasons to worry, because it's not just, or probably not just, a one-time lapse of judgment. From hasty directives on border operations to an embarrassing purge of diversity content, Pete Hegseth's current tenure has already been marked by a series of mismatched priorities. And one wonders, are Hegseth's decisions based more on what will look good on camera than strategic insights? Hegseth's past, filled with accusations of financial mismanagement, inappropriate behavior, even misconduct at strip clubs, has only added fuel to fire. From strip clubs to Signal Gate, Pete Hegseth's judgment has been under cloud. The most likely first casualty of this controversy, probably. It won't be the policies that were poorly executed or the decisions that should have been more carefully weighed. It could be Pete Hegseth himself. First wide-angle story on the show. They say when the price tag is sky high, the benefits often fall short of expectations. Nations around the world are waking up to the harsh reality of the F-35, a jet that costs trillions of dollars, comes with more baggage than a transatlantic flight, from broken promises to questionable reliability. Nations are now pulling the plug. For India, it seems like the Su-57 deal is starting to look much smarter bet. This report tells you the entire story in detail.
Ultimately provide India with the F-35 stealth fighters.
The F-35 comes with a price tag that some nations are beginning to regret. Take Denmark, for instance. The country's parliamentary defense chairman has publicly expressed regret over Denmark's decision to buy the F-35, citing fears that the US could pull the plug on spare parts or software updates at any time. A move that could potentially endanger the lives of thousands of military personnel. This kind of dependency on Washington is becoming a bitter pill for many countries, as the F-35's operational constraints and hefty price tag continue to raise alarms. Denmark isn't alone. Canada, Portugal, and even Germany are rethinking their F-35 purchases. The jet's lifetime cost has been estimated at a staggering $2 trillion, with sustainment costs spiraling out of control. The US has the power to halt critical updates, which could leave countries stranded. Further, the performance issues, including training crashes and delayed deliveries, are only adding to the setbacks. Countries are now exploring alternatives. Portugal, for example, dropped the F-35 in favor of French Rafales, which offer autonomy without being tethered to Washington. And in Germany, the purchase of 35 F-35s is being questioned. But the F-35's problems don't end here. As Trump pitches the F-35 to India, many experts are asking whether this is just a multi-trillion-dollar problem waiting to happen. Meanwhile, New Delhi, with its deep ties to Moscow, has been offered the Su-57. The Su-57, while not as advanced as the F-35, offers India a chance to modernize its fleet without being caught in Washington's web of restrictions. It's a choice that promises greater flexibility, reliability, and more importantly, independence. And for India, that seems like a deal worth making.
When it comes to defense, one size doesn't fit all, and one just cannot afford to lose the edge of the F-35. Soaring costs and growing doubts have nations rethinking their strategy. For India, it may be time to start looking eastward, where deals come without the strings, because sometimes it's better to trust what you know rather than take a gamble. All right, let's now talk about the other wide-angle story on the show. After 7 months of taking office as Bangladesh's interim advisor, Mohammad Yunus has held his first state visit to China. The visit is an effort to impress upon New Delhi the growing bonhomie between Dhaka and Beijing, one that is aimed to complicate India's strategic calculus. But the meeting signifies two things. One, that Bangladesh is getting sucked into the economic quagmire that is Belt and Road, with the readout indicating Dhaka's eagerness to embrace the one-sided BRI deals that have caused huge economic hardships in many countries. Second, Bangladesh needs China to address the growing Rohingya crisis on its borders, one that it's not able to address and one that it cannot sustain anymore. Bangladesh is hoping for a China-brokered pact to send back over 7 lakh Rohingyas it hosts in the refugee camps. That's not a commitment, that's an aspiration. But Yunus's China visit has implications for New Delhi. The student revolutions have wreaked havoc on the Bangladeshi economy, and taking more Chinese loans will further hit state finances. China is not promised debt-free loans. That's again a wish list for Bangladesh. And economic instability, viewers, leads to social instability, as the Indian subcontinent has already witnessed, from Maldives to Pakistan to Sri Lanka. Then there is Chinese interest in dredging an embankment on Teesta River. There is also now a major river framework that is being talked about with Chinese assistance. India and Bangladesh share 54 rivers. China's interest in Dhaka's river water management is a matter of concern. Bangladesh sits at a unique place in the Indo-Pacific. And if there is greater military engagement with China, it's not just a matter of strategic importance for India or New Delhi, but for other countries, including America. Quick break. I come back on the other side with more news statements. Welcome back. You're watching India Sense, and let's now play out the top voice on the show this week. Bhutanese Prime Minister Tshering Togbe, who spoke to me a short while back about the roadmap that he envisages between India and Bhutan, and also the kind of leadership lessons that he thinks the world needs right now. Listen in. Sir, you've written a book. Your book is about enlightened leadership. It talks about the transition from monarchy to democracy. But the first question I want to ask you, sir, is about leadership in present times. What kind of a leader does the world need right now, especially given the changed world order that we are now all in?
I have to be very honest. The title Enlightened Leadership is a clickbait. I don't know enough about leadership, let alone enlightened leadership, to talk about this type of leadership and to write about it. So what I have actually done is used an opportunity during the COVID years, when I had some time in my hands, to write about Bhutan and many aspects of Bhutan. But in particular, one aspect about Bhutan that is widely overlooked, and that is the remarkable way in which democracy started in Bhutan. As a matter of fact, the way it was imposed in Bhutan, not by outside forces or not through revolution and bloodshed, but imposed by a beloved monarch on a reluctant people during the peak of his popularity. And this is absolutely unique in the world, to have a democracy start this way, to be imposed by a reigning monarch at the peak of his popularity, in a time of unprecedented peace, stability, and progress.
But the neighborhood that we are in right now, you take what's happening around us, whether it's Bangladesh or some other countries, there are violent revolutions that are taking place, all in an effort towards democracy. How do you view that, especially in the context of Bhutan's history being completely opposite of that, and you have the advantage of history, apart from, of course, leadership lessons?
So this is exactly the point I've been trying to make, and especially to our own people. Let's treasure what we have, and especially to the youth of Bhutan. In our region, whether it's India, Bangladesh you just mentioned, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Afghanistan, some places don't even have democracy yet. But wherever there's democracy, even in India, it was a product of bloodshed, of sacrifice, of revolution. In Bhutan, it was a product of enlightened leaders imposing it on a reluctant people in a time of peace and prosperity, unprecedented stability. And this makes Bhutanese democracy, Bhutan's democracy, absolutely unique.
How have you seen the India-Bhutan relationship develop, grow closer? It's always been a very important relationship, but how have you seen its growth in the last couple of decades?
Well, you can call it a relationship, but really, it is a friendship. It is a brotherhood. Our friendship with India has always been strong. And if anything, it is getting stronger. We are neighbors by geography, but we are friends by choice.
And what would be your future expectations from this relationship going forward, whether it is in terms of economic partnerships? There's been the railway line that has come up between Kokrajhar and, of course, Jilipu town in Bhutan. There is the economic partnership, and then, of course, there are other cultural and social partnerships. How do you see all of that going forward in times to come?
Well, other neighbors, other relationships might have expectations. In our case, we have assurances. There is a deep trust between our two countries, our two peoples, our two governments. India, we don't need to expect anything because the Indian government, under the stellar leadership of Prime Minister Modi ji, who I refer to as my elder brother, who I refer to as my mentor, who is my mentor. We don't need to expect anything because we receive so many assurances from him and the Indian government. We have a railway line that's going to connect India to Western Bhutan, but more importantly, India has already started, has given us assurances and have also decided on building a railway line that's going to connect to central Bhutan, which goes bang to the Gelfu Mindfulness City. Now, this city is being developed as a special administrative region. This is the royal vision of His Majesty the King. And while this city is going to benefit Bhutan now and the future, it's going to benefit India also, Assam and all of India. This is going to be a gateway for investment to India and South Asia and indeed all of Asia. And the assurances we received from the highest level, from Prime Minister Modi himself and the government of India and the business leaders of India, is that the Gelfu Mindfulness City must succeed, and to that, they will leave no stone unturned.
All right, turning attention now to the inside story on the show. Across the UK, viewers, there's now whispers of an exodus that's growing louder as billionaires, including some of the wealthiest Indians in the world, are considering abandoning Britain, all because of a controversial tax reform. But what exactly is this non-dom tax, and why is it sending shockwaves through the elite? We explain. A non-dom is a status that allows individuals to live in the UK but avoid paying taxes on their foreign income. It's a loophole legally used by thousands of wealthy people to shield their global earnings from UK taxes. But this could soon change. Under new laws, Labour's Chancellor, that is Rachel Reeves, has proposed to abolish this status by 2025, so the rich pay their taxes on their foreign wealth, and there's also an inheritance tax that is on the anvil. The matter got attention in 2022, remember, when former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's wife Akshata Murthy came under the scanner for allegedly trying to skip paying taxes on income she generated in the UK. But Murthy's spokesperson claimed that she was indeed treated as a non-dom for UK tax purposes, but she did pay those taxes in Britain on all her UK income. Indian steel magnate Lakshmi Mittal, who has been in the UK for 3 decades, is now considering to leave the country. And joining him are a growing list of super wealthy who feel that their financial future is threatened. Now, UK's loss will obviously be gain for countries like the UAE, Switzerland and Italy, which are emerging as hotspots for these uber-rich. But the exit of these wealthy individuals will hit the UK economy. Labour government's argument is that these taxes will raise billions. But if these billionaires do indeed exit, Keir Starmer needs to worry who is going to fund the growing list of his subsidies. Worldview segment on the show. First up, Jammu and Kashmir's Kathua woke up to a tragedy unfolding Thursday morning in a brutal clash between our brave policemen and a group of heavily armed terrorists. 4 officers made the ultimate sacrifice. They weren't just statistics, they were fathers, sons, husbands, whose lives were stolen in a desperate firefight. With every bullet fired, with every life lost, the echoes of Pakistani proxies reverberate. And while we mourn our fallen heroes, let this be clear that the world must not look away. Pakistan's complicity in nurturing terror is the tinderbox to this unending crisis. It's time for the world to wake up. If terror is a beast, then Pakistan is the breeder. India will not forgive, nor will it ever forget. India passed the new immigration law, which tightens the rules and framework for entry into the country. The new rules will facilitate entry under separate categories: business, student, and several others. Home Minister Amit Shah's clear message that India is not a dharamshala is meant to send a message that illegal entry into India will be dealt strongly. The new legal framework will streamline immigration procedures, improve national security provisions, and aims to deter illegal immigrants entering the country. And finally, in today's digital whirlwind, where social media reigns supreme, we find ourselves stuck in a paradox. Everyone's spending what they don't have, chasing fleeting trends, and reaching for that elusive status symbol. Take, for example, Saratoga water, the latest TikTok sensation. As influencers like Ashton Hall dunk their heads into cobalt blue spring water, consumers have followed suit, flocking to retail shelves, credit cards in hand, to grab a bottle. Primo Brands, the company behind Saratoga, is riding high on this viral wave, with shares jumping over 2% after the TikTok craze went global. Yet behind the glimmer of growth lies a harsh truth. In an age where image is everything, people are more likely to spend money they don't have on products they genuinely do not need, just to keep up. With that, completely timed out on this edition of India Sense. Thanks so much for watching.